4. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good afternoon. I haven't actually done a show in a minute. In fall, I guess I told you you guys to get back to doing videos every day, and 5-10 minute videos. For jokers out there with the data cap. So you start making sure that I got you, and doing the actual shows maybe like 3 times a week, whatever the case may be. But as always, I got my brother here with me today, Jay Kratos. What's going on, good brother?
Yo, what's going on, everybody?
Yeah, like I said, as you guys come in, you be so kind, hit the like button. We're going to go over a couple of the recaps and the highlights from Sony Ces. I didn't even know they were having anything. I've streamed it live with you guys. Hold on, let me actually go to the hold on, let me bring this up here. Here we go. It's out here next gen. We're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about a few of the highlights from the show.
Okay.
Some recaps. I remember again when I did the show with we're gonna talk about with John Petty. When I said I never get credit for that. When I said the PS4 was at about 90 million, I remember they cursed me the hell out. What was it? A few months ago?
Yeah, that was a couple of months ago. They tried to discredit old buddy and say he's a kook, he's a fraud, he don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. And not only that, like who that? Oh, D. That's when I threw Diaz up under the bus. Yeah, he was out there capping when I told the cocaine cowboy story. The true Hollywood confessions of D. Whatever month that was, but yeah, you know what I mean. Hey, bro, some real stuff. I don't get credit for a lot of things. Not that I care. It is what it is. But I done broke a lot of stories around here on the low. You know what I mean? Maybe because they hate to say it's not the context of my character, but maybe it's the color of my skin. I don't know. But again, shout out, kudos to Sony. And also because I see a lot of Xbox guys are still out there in denial. I don't know what for. Like it is what it is. I don't understand it. But again, like I said, we're going to talk about it today. Like I said, as you guys come in, please hit the like button. We're going to have a little fun here. Sony Ces. So anyway, so what is CES? Kratos, talk to me. For those that may not know, do know.
Yeah, the CES is the Consumer Electronics Show.
Okay.
And that's where all the electronic companies show their latest televisions, tech, cameras, phones, anything that runs by batteries or electricity. That's what they show there. And again, it's what's for consumers, not necessarily for the commercial, which is to sell to companies, but we will be able to purchase within the next coming year or so. So that's what that's for. That's kind of like the Super Bowl for tech guys.
So that's just not, everyone. Anything dealing with technology, basically.
Yes. They got the latest refrigerators, smart TVs, the latest vacuum cleaners, everything. And of course, Sony being one of the largest electronics manufacturers in the world, of course, they're going to be there parading their latest Sony Alpha line of cameras, lenses, the latest Sony Brava TVs, the Master Series. Just any and everything. Obviously, they talked about PlayStation and what's going on with that and where they are with the consumer market from that standpoint. Basically letting their investors know this is where we're spending your money and this is why you need to keep investing with us.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, Nintendo was also there, if I'm not mistaken. Nintendo was there. Was Microsoft there or no?
No, Microsoft wasn't there. Again, keep in mind, even though Microsoft does make hardware, they're specifically a software company.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what that is. Now they dibble and dabble in a lot of stuff, but Microsoft, it wouldn't really fit them to be there. Microsoft would be at like a developers convention where they're talking about new software and stuff like that, latest operating systems, latest Microsoft Office suite, stuff like that.
All right. VR 2. All right. I'm about to be seeing you guys in 1 second. In live time. Excuse me. 1 second. As you guys come in, hit the like button. I never know who's gonna swing by. We on Discord, so hold on. Let me go to the page. All right, save. That's done. I can see you guys in the real time now. Let me mute myself in the back. All right, here we go. Damn. All right, Gary, we got two. Just like wow, we just started. Anything about money between my baby? Anyway, let's say hold on before we get started. Gilliam SS9, Gilliam, Deleta. I'm hoping I pronounce your name right. Deleta. Rafe the Ember, what's going on, good brother? Philosopher Doom, AP the Shooter. Spence, what's up, brother? Pastor Spence. Hey, Spence, don't forget about tomorrow. We got a pastor coming on. Expand your mind. We're gonna see you tomorrow, Spence. Douglas Silver, none of your business. Shout out to you. God of Games. Who else we got? McNeil J. Chris, Xbox 448. Shout out to you, good brother. Devil Luke, Daniel JB. The Mees, who else we got in here? Behind Rain Screwface. Shout out to you, good brother. Antonio Elisa's LG Nemesis. Classic Love, what's going on, good brother? Long time no see. Shout out to you, Silent Wolf, Darkling, Miss Fee. Shout out to you, Rafiza. Godline X23, Darkly 99, Silent Wolf. If I missed your name, I do apologize. Pose, Eric Mines, Fab. What's up to you? Alex Escobar. The finest, what's going on, good brother? Vicious Lord, shout out to you, man. LG Nemesis, I think got everybody. If I missed your name, I do apologize. It's not done. Seth, shout out. I ain't doing it intentionally. So, right away, hold on. And like I say, as you guys come in, hit the like button. We're going to try to have an entertaining show with the right click copy. So, Sony had their thing. Like I said, this is for their investors. So, they came out and took the stage. They talked about the TVs, right? The Z, whatever, what you're about to buy.
Yeah.
That's an 8K television. When does this 8K television hit the market? Damn, 8K already, Jesus Christ.
Yes. So they showcased their Master Series line of Sony Bravia TVs, which is their flagship is the Sony Z9G, and so that's 8K. Obviously 120 hertz. The latest HDR, the latest adaptive LED lighting, backlighting, and stuff like that. And it's going to, I think, starting at 85 inches to 88 inches, and it goes up to about 90 to 95 inches for that particular line of TVs. And again, amazing picture quality, amazing picture. I mean, this is something that they're trace where the future is going. Now, the future is not. And one thing I noticed is it wasn't just Sony or Samsung here, but it had what we would call off-brand manufacturers there, such as TCL and some of the other lower brands.
Yeah, on the low, they said they had one of the best 4K TV HDR refresh rate and all that stuff. TCL.
Yeah. So they're displaying their technology and what they're doing to usher in 8K. And generally, Sony and Samsung and LG, every year they bring their newest technology of what they think the future is going to be. But it's very rare that you have the little small, cheap brands to bring their technology there and showcase what they're doing. That means these guys are bringing 8K, affordable 8K to us. So we're talking, when I say affordable, I mean within the $1,500 to $2,000 to $2,500 range. That is what I mean about affordable to the consumers. We all know that Sony and Samsung and LG every year they come out with these top of the line TVs that cost 15 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand. But now it's actually you'll actually be able to afford them if you're willing to spend the money and get the TVs in your home. So 8K it looks like it's going to be a standard coming up within the next year or two. So it is what it is.
Hold on, let me get my man McNeil J. Chris. Is it call me 90 million Chris, bro? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that 90 million. Okay, no, before we switch the topics, I want to talk about this 90 million and how some people still in denial. Now, what's the price range for these TVs for Sony's? Was it about 8 grand or almost what they charging for?
Sony's right now through my distributor, I'm looking at about $5,500.
Oh, that ain't bad, bro.
But exactly. That's not bad. Now that's through my plug.
Yeah.
Where I typically get my stuff from.
I understand.
Now, mind you, that's for a 85 to 88 inch TV. Oh, now, once they go down to the consumer model, which is the 65 and the 55 inch where most people would buy, then now we're looking at the $3,000 range, 3,500
Mm.
maybe. So that's why I say it's more affordable. It's going to be more affordable now once they shrink it to those sizes.
All right, for sure, man. Like I said, as you guys come in, like I said, the light bulb was a little funny. So anyway, Sony, aside of the TVs and the microwaves and everything, Sony took to the stage and they announced some very huge milestones for the PlayStation 4. They said it was 91 million sold to consumers.
91.6 and counting sold to consumers. That means it's in your house now.
Oh, okay. Now, like I said, I remember I said about a few months ago, I did a show here on this dog shit platform when I had a gentleman by the name of John Petty. Shout out to him. I might drop him an email. So did a show with him, and what did I have the Xbox one? Was it 25 million? Was it 30? What was it? 36 million? I forgot. Whatever the Xbox.
I think we were talking about at the time, it was 32 million.
Okay, 32 million. And I said the PlayStation 4. What he said was at 90 million at the time.
Yes.
Now, and how he went about how his company went about the data again. Those numbers came directly from AMD. That report was how you say that report there was requested and put together by AMD about the number of of GPUs or APUs that were sold to both Microsoft and Sony. And that's what this company does. Anything regarding pixels, they are responsible for counting. But that's neither here nor there. And then a lot of the guys from the Xbox community, for whatever reason, I hate to say this, maybe it's not the context of my character, but maybe it's the color of my skin, went out and attacked me, literally. Again, threatened to render me unconscious. Knocked me smooth out my loafers. Now I said, and it's crazy, I did that show in that video not to make it a fanboy show or, that, I was like, I know when to turn it on and when to turn it off. You know what I mean? I was being as professional as I know how, right? Check this out.
Yeah.
Went out there and attacked it, whatever the case. I always say this, Kratos, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. It is what it is, right? But went out and just attacked those numbers. Now you had again from Sony come out and taking the stage and saying that when did that console launch? The console launched in 2013. They're already
2013. That's 5 years ago. And they're already slightly shy of 100 million consoles. Z, that means that's more than PlayStation 3 did.
Yes.
In 8 years, and that's more than what the PS2 did in the same time frame.
Yeah. So I say that to say this, right? Why is the mess your opinion? Why is it when it comes to these numbers or whatever the case, whatever group, whether it's Xbox, whoever, why do you the fans feel so? I don't get that they get and go out and try to discredit these companies. But like I said, your numbers don't lie. Like I ain't gonna lie, I'm a couple of them other Xbox DM chaps. Sony's lying, and I don't have an issue with. I know I ain't got an issue with that dude either. He was one of the guys trying to break down the numbers. Like, bro, come on, we gotta stop this shit here. And he said this one gets a little spooky. You know what I mean? Let me actually I'll bring the tweet up on the screen here.
Well, I'll tell you why, Z. Why they don't want to take the numbers for face value.
Why is that, good brother?
Well, that's because it's not what they want to hear. When you're a kid and somebody's saying something that you don't want to hear, when your mom tell you to eat your veggies off your plate, what you used to do, you used to take your hands and stick over your ears so you couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what they're doing. It's like, you're denying the reality. Now, the reality is we've known for 4 years now that the PlayStation was outselling the Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
But to the extent that the guys over the years have told so many lies to themselves to say that the Xbox is coming back with a vengeance. The tides are turning, and they're barely losing by a couple of $1,000 in the U.S. Like the rest of the world didn't matter. They built this up in their head. They built up this fake news in their head, and that's their reality. So now, when you bring professionals on that has no skin in the game to tell you this how many GPUs or pretty much APUs that we've sold to these companies, they don't want to believe that because that is not what they want. And so now for Sony to come out again and match the numbers up with the numbers that you got, that the guy that you had on had spoken, and now that's irrefutable evidence. And so now the guys are quiet, or they're moaning and crying and whining, and again, that's just reality setting in.
Oh, let me cut my volume up. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Levels. Bam. All right. Okay. Let me go here one time. Hold on 1 second. Turn this up. All right. Okay, so now he says, here we go again with more bullshit. Last year at the same time, it was at 81 million shipped. They sold 18 million units this year. Now it's 91.6 million in homes. Just a year later, where's the rest of the 7 million consoles? This company has been caught lying before. I call bullshit at Sony. Now I don't know what the Sony number was last year or the year before. Let me see.
Well, I'll tell you what it was. Last year they said they were sitting at 81.2 million. But here's the thing, Z. The average numbers of what PlayStation has sold every single year, if you average them up, it's around 18.2 million consoles per year. That's what it averages out to. Now, Sony tells you how many that they've sold to the actual gamers inside of their homes, but they don't necessarily tell you how many consoles have they actually made in box, sitting in their warehouse, ready to ship to retailers. And this is where the guys misconstrue the numbers. Obviously, Sony has already built over 100 million consoles. They only ship when the stores call and say, "Hey, I need another lot of shipments." And then once they make that phone call, then Sony will go in the warehouse and ship those units out to them. They don't make them as soon as you call them and say, "Hey, I need some more," and then they go in the back and make some more consoles. No, they make more ahead of time in anticipation. But the holidays, obviously, right? They probably had 5, 6, 7 million made sitting in the warehouse ready for the holidays. And if I'm not mistaken, Jeff Keighley and Sony reported that from the holiday season, they've sold like almost 6 million consoles just within that 2-month period.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie. I don't know what the Red Dead bundle did. I don't know what that Spider-Man bundle did. The Call of Duty. Listen, we all knew that Sony was gonna have a big holiday because just again on the bundles that they were doing, which speaks some volume. But also with Spider-Man, and shout out to my man Dirk Grinkity. I told him that Spider-Man most likely is going to outsell God of War because it's a much bigger IP. When they had the top selling software for the year in 2019, it was only 5 multiplats that came above Spider-Man and God of War. I mean, hold on, let me bring this. I'm going to share it for the audience. And this is just talking about compelling software, and we can talk about one and dones, this, that, and the other. This is what it all boils down to. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, yes, Microsoft addressed the power issue that they were having, but here we go. Right, you guys can see the top 10 best-selling games so far this year. Black Ops is top of the line. Number 1, Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a shocker to me. NBA 2K19, Far Cry 5, Madden 19. At number 6 and number 7 is Marvel, Spider-Man, and God of War 2018, aka quote unquote 2 one and dones. You know what I mean? Outsold Monster Hunter, outsold Grand Theft Auto 5. Like that's bananas. Now this isn't on one platform, but this is not on PlayStation platform. These Call of Duty is sold on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC.
PC.
You know,
Yep.
NBA 2K. You know what I mean? Like these. You know what I mean? Again, look at this right here. Like this is, you know, what Marion said. This is asinine. You know, and that's what it comes to. Like I said, you know, and I have to take my hat off to Sony. Bro, I gave them hell. Started the generation. They had both legs in the ditch, bro. Up to the eyebrows in debt. They came with that motherfucking double down on themselves. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And again, and I always, like I said, I was supposed to have Mooch up here. I don't know what the hell he done backed up, but that's another story for another day. But I asked the question again: how did the hell did we get here? And I ain't got a legit answer yet, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I ain't got a straight answer yet. I understand that they're buying studios. I see they trying to make fun of me on Twitter about Gears Tactic. Now it's coming to Xbox. And it was never the fact about Gears Tactic not being on the Xbox. So,
Yeah.
the jokers and mental midgets, man. But this is what, bro, 9 million? You know what I mean?
Not,
Like,
listen, Z. Right now it's sitting around 10 million. They said that they stopped counting before Christmas.
oh,
So
yeah. Yeah.
the number goes
Well
to
over.
yeah. So I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
It's the number's over. So Spider-Man is sitting at 10 million plus right now. Let's just it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like that game is going to stop selling. Like that's it.
Yeah.
You got to look at stuff like that. They had multiple Game of the Year nominees. They won the Game of the Year with multiple awards and everything else. And here's the thing about it. They did all of this without having the world's most powerful console.
Yeah. You know what?
That brings a whole nother perspective, Z. A whole nother perspective.
I will say this though. I mean, at the start of a generation, neither Sony or Mike, they don't have the best of games. So we just again, on what they power and what they can do. And of course, there's no brainer. The PlayStation was more powerful at the launch. It was. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Well, the hype king, the 1080p, 900p. Now we don't care much about resolution. Hold on 1 second. Yes. I don't know. Whatever you bring over, whatever. Oh, it's nothing. I'm on the air though. All right.
I listen, Z. I get it, right? It was the most powerful. The original PlayStation was more powerful.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the sole issue. The sole issue was not only was it more powerful, but it was $100 cheaper. You have to put those. You have to put those two together. Why would you buy a slower car
Man.
that's more expensive?
You hear him sound like right up. Say it again. All right, say it again. You can now. Say it again.
Yeah, why would you buy a more expensive car that's a lot slower than a cheaper car faster? That just I'm just trying to use that logic.
Okay, and I guess the same token, it was then Microsoft took the Kinect out the box around April, around the time Titanfall came out, right?
Yes.
So it was maybe from November to April, about 4 or 5 months, whatever the case. The Xbox was more expensive, and then around April, March, they both were around the same age. And again, for whatever reason, Microsoft decided to stop doing these third party deals. Which was big again. We make fun of Call of Duty, whatever the case may be. It's always the number one selling game every goddamn year. And that was, when you think, like I say, quote unquote, the Xbox is the shooter box, and stop giving exclusive content. And it's one thing Sony doubled down on. They got the duty to get the match first. It went out with theme consoles. Microsoft went away from all that for whatever reason. I don't know. You know what I mean? Whatever reason. Hold on 1 second. Von Lamont said, "Crap hasn't been on Twitter or made a video about PlayStation since those numbers released. Do people really think Xbox is going to be able to win next generation?" Let me say this, and I'm going to get Jay's opinion, right? Every generation, things change. You will see how dominant Nintendo was with the Wii. Came out that motherfucking dropped the Wii U. It's always, we can talk about services, we can talk about But it's always about the games at the end of the day because we are gamers.
Facts.
And if depends if Sony, I'm sorry, if Microsoft can go out there and deliver the games at a compelling price point as far as their console. You know what I mean? It's all relative on that. You know what I mean? Sony might get, we don't know. Hope not. They might come out that more. Hey, no, y'all need a second job again, or you know what I mean? So many different things happen. I want to talk about this PS5 stuff too, and get your opinion on it. So many things happen. Like, what do you feel about it? In your opinion?
Listen, the mind share plays a big role right now. Sony theoretically they have 100 million people that are backing them. Microsoft has maybe 30 to 40 million people that are backing them. Having momentum going into the next generation is everything for Sony, and it's everything for Microsoft. Microsoft does not have the momentum. Think about it. The last games we're going to get to play this generation are generation-defining games such as Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, The Last of Us 2. Think about it. Just those games alone are they're at the top of everybody's most anticipated games this gen. So if you're going out with a bang with The Last of Us, if that's the last game I get to play this gen is The Last of Us 2, I'm already sold on the PS5 because I want The Last of Us 3 and I want the God of War 2 and I want the Spider-Man 2 and so on and so on. So I'm already sold. And then VR is a whole nother ball game that adds more value. And then just the mind share that Sony has delivered to its base, it has delivered on all fronts. It has the momentum. It is not waffling on what it wants to do. It does what it does, whether you like it or not, and it's successful. Microsoft, they have a lot to prove to their fan base, and they have to bring the games. A lot of people are not necessarily convinced that they're willing to fight for the higher end of gaming. So, and then the Switch in 2019 is supposed to be surpassing the Xbox.
Yeah, hold on.
So
hold that right there. My man, Classic Love, that's what he's here. I'm gonna read his super chat. Classic Love, shout out to him. He said, "This will be the year Nintendo Switch passes the Xbox One in sales lifetime and hasn't been on the market for 2 years, yet already 25 million sold." Listen, here's the thing, and I will admit when I was wrong. Whether I care for the hardware or not, of the games that they do, Nintendo are delivering the games, I guess, that their fan base or people, with I talk about Switch every day. I'm playing Switch every day with Maya. I'm on Mario Odyssey, and that's so not a kid's game. I don't know how the hell, Mario difficult as hell now, tools and this, that, and the other. I remember it was a 2D side scroller. I said, yo, boy, turn to the YouTube channel. Let's go watch a Let's Play. How to get past this part right here. That shit ain't for kids no more, you know what I mean? Mario, let's play Mario. Mario hard as hell, bro.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, they most likely they will. You know what I mean? But, here's the thing what I don't like about Microsoft, and I'm going to get your opinion what they're not doing. I just feel like they're just resting on their laurels and saying, hey, this generation is over. Even with the fan, we're going to come back in next generation. And you can't do that. You have to continue to fight and keep pushing and keep driving. And they're not doing that, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And
yeah, I listen. I agree. The hardcore, the Microsoft fan base, they will stick with Microsoft through thick and thin. They don't care, right? They bleed green. So they will sit here for the next 2 to 3 years, depending on when the next console comes out. They will sit here and just wait, and they don't mind waiting. But there is more to gaming, and there's more to Microsoft selling Xboxes than just those 40 million people. Microsoft needs to go out and get some of the PlayStation guys. They need to get some of the Nintendo guys. They need to focus their sites bigger than just trying to get some people that they had last generation.
Hold on, my man. I'm sorry. My man SS9 Benito says Microsoft will lose next generation because they lost our trust. Listen, I ain't gonna lie. I have no faith in them, and I was probably one of the biggest Xbox guys that you can probably shit. You know what I mean? Bleed green. You know, Sony, all that shit came from me, right? Um, and I'm sitting back. You know, even with E3, Sony's not gonna be there, right? E3, right? They're not gonna be there. I still don't think Microsoft's gonna go out that motherfucker and deliver a home run. Like I'm just being, bro. Let's say, one time shame on you, next time shame on me. I don't have any faith in that. I'm being honest. I don't. Hold on, my man Von Lamont says Sony is single-handedly keeping the single-player games alive. If Spider-Man's at 9 million already, how much do you think God of War or so? Well, here's the thing. It's under Spider-Man because God of War came out in when 2009, 2018, right?
Yeah, it came out in I think it was is it May
April,
or
April, April,
April?
April.
April.
Yeah, and they have it in part of the top 20 games
Yeah.
sold for
Yeah, God of War is probably about 8 million.
yeah,
It's
sold for
so I think
2018.
it's so like
Yeah,
like
Spider Man.
3 to 4 to 5 million in like 3 days or something like that.
Yeah, Spider Man is 6 and God of War is number 7. And
Yeah.
my man and Jay Fonz, hey Fonz, we on Discord if you want to hop in. He said all Microsoft had to do is make quality games. That's simple. And you know what? Hey, listen, Fonzarelli, you're absolutely right.
Yep.
That's all they should do is make quality games, right? But at
Yep.
the end, and also I'll take you one step better than that, right? I'm not talking about maybe the fanatics. Some jokers on Twitter that are real social media. They have to come out and be honest and demand better. You know what I mean? Like I let hey Fonz, said you rock with some of those jokers. When I said Phil, what's up with the art style of these games and the Lucky Tales and Zoo Tycoon and I'm not saying I understand they, as a game publisher or developer or a platform they have to cater to all different types of audience, but you totally turned your back on what put you here and made you the brand that you were. It was guys like me. He said quote unquote bleed green. And under that very same thread, I had jokers curse me out and say, "No, Phil, don't listen to him. He's pariah. He's toxic. Thank you for Lucky Tales. My grandson was born without shins, like little Timmy, and I got to play Lucky Tales with him. Please." And now that motherfucker same goddamn game is on the Nintendo Switch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. See, shit like that, that's what I said. Maybe it's not the context of my character. Maybe it's the color of my goddamn skin. You know what? And I'm going to be real with this, right? And I keep going back because I think it's funny as hell, right? I could see Kratos if I was some motherfuckers pretend to be neutral, right?
Yeah.
Just go out there and just slam one platform, right? I could see if I was one of those guys like that, right? And just slam a certain particular platform. They can never do that, right? But you motherfuckers at the time knew, like, listen here. The 99.9% of the slogans and the swag and all these shit you steal from me and all that slick shit you guys say came from me. Bleed green, be the behemoth, 4K makes you, all that shit came from me, right? So know I'm an Xbox dude, right? When I said, bro, I knew that shit was spooky. I said, what do you want to see the coalition or Black Tusk make outside of Gears and 340 make outside of Halo? I said, here you got Naughty Dog with a fraction of their staff and resources as 343, right? They have well over 500 people, and they're able to give Uncharted. They're able to give you the Last of Us, right? Whether you like those games or not, that's all subjective, okay? You know what I mean? Yeah. Bro, they curse me the fuck. You know? They curse me. They curse me the hell out. You know? Like, that's crazy as hell.
Z, I've said, man, I'm afraid what has happened is that by the fan base, the Xbox fan base, not criticizing Microsoft and not demanding better, that I fear they were walking the Xbox brand itself down the plank.
Okay.
That's what I said. I'm afraid that by them just singing praises to any and everything that's delivered, that Microsoft's going to be like, well, why do better when, obviously these guys are saying that we're doing good. So the sales, right? It's not like the sales are there, but they're making more money. Microsoft is making more money now by not giving us games than they were when they were trying to give us exclusives.
I'm glad you said that. I gotta address. Shout out to my man Predator H2O. He said, "Why is it okay to talk about Sony selling 91 million consoles, but when Microsoft made 10 billion from its gaming division, although Xbox would call corporate slaves?" I'm gonna get. Here's the thing. I'm gonna be honest with you, right? At the end of the day, I can care whether what Sony makes their money or what Microsoft makes as far as their money. We're just talking about a milestone, how fast this console was able to sell in a certain amount of time. But all that's well and good. But the problem with the 10 billion Predator H2O, and again, shout out to you for speaking about my dog shit platform, is that they made. Hey, check it out, right? This is kind of slick here.
Yeah.
They made $10 billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Giving us a diabetic diet, right?
Yep.
Not doing anything.
68 rated game for 2 years.
I'm not bragging about them making $10 billion and they give me games like Sea of Thieves and Lucky Tales and Zoo Tycoon. I'm fucking embarrassed. They shouldn't have made shit. They shouldn't have made $35,000 with a goddamn quarter. I'm just, bro, and listen, and I'm being dead ass. Now they made that type of money and giving us great games, so that's something for me. And again, I'm not trying to spin it or you know what I mean. How you say? Mind your, watch your tongue, color boy. I ain't even trying to come off like that, right? I'm just being honest. I'm not. To me, that's embarrassing. The fact that they made $10 billion and got me on a motherfucker, got me living like a dope fiend. You know what I mean? That to me is embarrassing. So that to me that's embarrassing. Hold up, and shout out to Von Lamont. He says Sony should have waited for Crackdown 3 release date to release those numbers. If we've been honest, nah, man. People most likely buy PS5 for Spider-Man 2. I'm not really concerned about Crackdown. I mean, I have never cared for Crackdown. That's just my opinion. Who just joined? Somebody just joined here.
Me.
Oh, what's up, Mr. Manhattan?
Yo, what's up, Manhattan?
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Chilling, man.
Yeah, but what you say?
No, I'm saying it's been crazy on. Twitter been quiet, man. What's going on, man?
Oh, you just talking about that, just the couple milestones. But hey, but listen, hey Kratos, like, what do you feel about that? He said it's cool for Sony guys or whoever to brag about the 91 billion, but when Xbox guys talk about the 10 billion that Microsoft made, they would call corporate. So what are your thoughts about that?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you the big difference, right?
Okay.
PlayStation guys are out there talking about numbers of consoles sold, numbers of games sold. It's about the games, right? They're not talking about how much profits are going in people's pockets. Because at the end of the day, nobody cares how much money Sony has made. Not even Sony has bragged about how much money Sony has made, right? So this is why the people say it's corporate slavery when you worry about the pocketbooks. Worry about the games because that's why you're here. You're here for the games, the consoles, and the VR and all the stuff that comes with it, with your hobby. You're not here for the money. The money doesn't do anything because think about it. Microsoft is the richest company in the world, and yet it's getting its ass stomped out tenfold by a company that is barely hanging on by a wet noodle. So this is why you can't compare the two. Now here, if the Xbox guys want to brag, they can come out and brag about how many copies of Zoo Tycoon sold, or Super Lucky's Tale, or Halo, Forza Horizon, or whatever. You can talk about that, but when it comes to money, what has that money done this generation for Xbox? It hasn't done a thing. And the mere fact that you got a damn handheld about to outsell you, that is enough to make you stick your head down and walk away and stay out of it.
Hold on, my man AP the Shooter, bro. We're trying to have a decent show today. He come up with the foolery and fuckery. AP the Shooter said, "Fuck niggas make $10 billion off selling coke. Soap. That wasn't even real coke. God damn, they out there selling beat bottles. Out there beating motherfuckers, man." But and listen, a Predator. So that's my opinion. Why and again, I can care less about who made what. I don't care about anybody's money. But the fact that again that they made $10 billion or whatever the case may be, and then give me, and to me that just sets a a negative, kind of change because in Microsoft, I will say this, they are good at making money. That's what they do. Microsoft has their hands in all types of shit behind the scenes.
Of
As far as
course.
gaming, this is what
Yeah.
they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, they looking like, damn, we only gonna spend motherfucking $10 million on some games for 2 years, right? Literally, and we're gonna make 10 billion. Shit.
Z, check this out.
You know what I mean?
Check this out. If I'm out there on Twitter bragging about how much money that Sony made off of the Spider-Man movie, how does that make me look? I'm listen, we're in this for games. We're not in there for movies, for radios, for nothing else. We're in it for the games. That's what we're talking about here, game. Here's another thing that people are not addressing. The mere fact that Sony has said that they've sold 900 pieces of games, 900 games this generation, 900 we're talking about 900 million games, copies of software. That's almost 1 billion games sold to the consumers. That's more than PS1, PS2, PS3.
Damn.
That means PlayStation guys aren't just talking about games. These motherfuckers out here buying games. Almost 1 billion games sold.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That has to speak for.
My man said the X is so powerful, we don't even need games. But anyway, like I said, moving on. But shut again to you, Predator H2O. I hope that not maybe we all can agree to disagree, but I hope that you understand. This is my opinion. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody though. But getting right, we have some more leaks about the PlayStation 5. I'll probably do a separate, more in-depth, video about this. Here goes some other snippets from the clues. He said the PS5 comes equipped with 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM, and it will come equipped with an 8-core Ryzen CPU and a Navi-based GPU. Sony really wants to put in 32 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM, but due to the PlayStation VR 2 being bundled, oh man, there we go, with every PlayStation 5, they have to make sure that the system will be 400 plus the PlayStation VR 2, which will retail for $100, and in total will be $500. He said, I guess he's talking about it will be divided up. Actually, we go to the actual article. Hold on a second. But anyway, it looks like what he's saying. I'm gonna go to the actual article itself. That the PlayStation 5 is going to come bundled with PlayStation VR. Do you think Sony is making a mistake by doing this? And trying to promote,
They're not gonna do it. Z, it's a non-starter. They're not gonna do
so you call
it. They're not gonna do it. I'm gonna tell you why. Because VR costs more than the fucking console itself. Think about it. When PlayStation VR came out, it came out at $399.
Mm-hmm.
That was PlayStation Pro territory. That was more than the PS4 cost. There is nowhere in the world they're going to be able to bundle a $400 PSVR on top of a dollar console and sell it to you for $400 to $500. That's a non-starter. And then for two, they've learned their lesson about bundling accessories with consoles. They learned that from Microsoft. If not, learned that from the history. Because you're always going to get those gamers that say, I don't want VR. I get a headache from VR. I can't stand it, or I don't want it. Sell me the cheaper system without VR. Mm-hmm. And so that's why you're not going to do that. I believe VR, they may have a VR bundle separately, like a premium system for those who care for VR, and it may be $5.99, $6.99 or something like that. But I do not think that they're actually going to bundle that day one with a system. I literally don't. That would be dead in the water. They're not that stupid. They're not that stupid. Have they not learned how Microsoft got in the position that they got into? Think about it. They're winning. All they have to do is just release the PS5. They got the games. Mm-hmm. All people are asking for is more powerful next-gen hardware. So why would you overstep your boundaries and add something that people don't want?
Mm-hmm.
That's basically a connecting a box. That's dumb. So it's a non-starter. I don't believe that at all.
All right, hold on. Yeah, also we can talk about some of the specs. Hold on 1 second. Uh, Helena said Microsoft better come with it, or they may be DOA. Of that, I agree. I mean, they are making some of the right moves now. But we're gonna see how it all plays. Like I said, in the day, it's been gamers change, gamers are fickle. Outside of that, we got a whole new different batch of gamers coming in that's like my grandson and mine is that and the other. Depends on what these consoles have to offer, pricing. You know what I mean? Again, if Microsoft can be there, like I said, look how dominant the Wii was, and they went from the Wii to the Wii U. Who the fuck saw that coming? You know what I mean? It's gonna be so. You know what I mean? My man, Dominican Rocket 1995 still is over an issue that Microsoft is. It said still crying over the issue that Microsoft is actively fixing. Here's the thing, bro. Let's be and shout out to you, my man. No one's crying over the issue, but we're talking about an issue that shouldn't even happen in the first place. All right, we're talking about getting $1 trillion goddamn company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of them buying student Microsoft buy all types of shit. They bought the Havoc engine this generation. How did that help us get in games? You know what I mean? And again, and what type of game? It's all about the games. For all I know, they may be doing nothing but CFD type game. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's all about the games and what type of games that the studios that they are acquiring are going to make. Will they be up to the level of a God of War, Spider-Man, or Ghost of Tsushima? We don't know. And until Microsoft started showing some, I don't know, they're not fixing shit. Last time I checked, we got Super Lucky Tales on the Switch. I don't know what the fuck going on, bro. You know what I mean? So to me, in my opinion, this looks like Microsoft was resting on their laurels to say, "Hey, this generation is over. We're gonna come out firing it," which I don't think they should do. Just think about this, right? We're gonna get Gears of War 5 this year, which I can't wait, right? To get right.
Yeah.
We're all gonna see that 2020. We're gonna get new hardware at a minimum, right? No, maybe I see 20, at least for Microsoft 2020, right? But what else are they going to release? They just shot they load again with Gears of War 5 the year before. What else we got going on?
Multiplats, Forza. I mean,
look, Sony still got. Listen, real talk. Sony still got The Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding. What's it? Neo
Days
2?
Gone.
Days Gone. Neo 2.
Neo 2. Project Unknown.
Yeah, Dream. I mean, whatever what was in the dreams. Like, you know what I mean? Like, god damn.
Yeah. And a ton of VR games. So it's a lot of content that now keep in mind the games that you named, Z, are not indie or AA games. These are Microsoft, or Sony's biggest loads. Sony saved their biggest games, their biggest loads for the last year of the generation. So people will always compare Microsoft games to Sony's games. That's just always going to happen. And so I understand Microsoft went out and invested into some studios and creating some games, but they've been buying these AA games. I mean, these other AA studios and these indie studios, and we don't know how that software lineup is going to compare to the God of Wars, the Spider-Mans, the Death Strandings, the Days Gones, the Last of Us. Because if they come out with some new game that they came out with against The Last of Us or the new Uncharted, it's a DOA. You gotta fight fire with fire. You cannot come out there with State of Decay 3 against the new Uncharted. You can't. That's not gonna work. People are gonna see that you're bringing out Mickey Mouse games against the heavy hitters. Microsoft is going to have to bring the heavy hitters, and it can't be Halo, Gears, and Forza because you guys are already tired of those. You've already said that you're tired, and it's not me that's saying you're tired. It's the sales. The series are declining. sell. When you look back in the last Gears sold less than the previous one. The last Forza Motorsport 7 sold less than the previous one.
Yeah.
So it's not just me making this stuff up. This is you. You're not buying the stuff. You hype it up, but you're not buying it.
Hold up, my man. Let me ask you about your question. So you say, so we got here first. It says here the PS5 will come equipped with 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM, and it will come equipped with an 8-core Ryzen CPU and a Navi-based GPU. Sony really wants to put 32 gigabytes. So that's a lot of goddamn RAM. GDDR6 RAM, but due to the PlayStation VR 2 being bundled with every PS5, they have to make sure that the system will cost. System will be $400 plus the PSVR 2, which will retail at $100 for final console. Also said, however, the 16 gigabytes of RAM will not be used in games. The RAM will be divided into 2 sections. So, example, 8 gigabytes of RAM will be for games alone. With the use and the other 8 will be used for the OS and stuff together. So far, the games that I've seen have been running at 4K 30, which is not a way to start off the 9th generation, but it's a significant upgrade from the PS4. Anthem is having difficulties running at this current state, but BioWare is determined to put the game on the PS4 and the Xbox One. The next generation system. The PS4 version runs at Jesus Christ 720p 30 frames a second, while the PlayStation 5 version runs at 4K 60. So yes, some games will run at a constant 60, but the majority of the games, from what I've seen, will be at 4K 30. If this is true, is that an issue for you that we're still going to be doing 30 frames a second next generation?
I don't mind it, but I don't believe it, and I'll tell you why. Some of that stuff is, I think it's inaccurate. The next PS5 is rumored to have 16 gigabytes of RAM total.
Yeah.
Now, eight of that is dedicated for video, for just the graphics alone, and the other 8 is for the system RAM, for the operating system. All the streaming
VR,
stuff that goes along with it, VR and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you come up with 16 gigs. Right now, I think the PlayStation 4 Pro has about 5 gigs. One of it is dedicated to the OS, and 4 is dedicated to the graphics and the system. So I'll say that I do not think the PSVR will be bundled in, but the sheer fact that CPU is probably 10 to 12 times more powerful than the Jaguar CPU eliminates that 30 frames per second bottleneck that the current systems have. The only reason the Xbox One and the PS4 Pro are doing 30 frames in like 99.9% of the game is because that CPU.
Yes.
That's what it is. You know, what they say, resolution is handled by the GPU, but frames per second has a lot to do with the CPU. And it all has to work in tandem. So I think next generation, we will get a lot of 4K 60 games. I don't think that is going to be mandatory that every single game is 4K 60. There will be some 4K 30 games, I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
But there could possibly be some 8K 30 frames per second games. I don't know.
Oh, shit.
Don't listen to this dude. Don't listen to this
guy. I'm just saying, based on the specs, Z, that you brought out, based on the specs like that, if they use the same scenario that we have this gen, there's no doubt about that. I'm not saying that they're going to do it. I'm just saying, based on the specs, I don't see them having a problem doing that. I'm not saying that they will. I'm just saying, based on the specs that you brought out, it should be able to do that. And especially if they decide to start using checkerboard and stuff like that, that definitely shouldn't be an issue.
Oh, my man AP the shooter said Xbox needs some single player joints, and it's just a pop. You're absolutely right. And my man here, Rodriguez, wanted to correct you. He said, actually, fuck nigga, the last Forza is the best selling one. Fuck nigga. And
no, it's not. I said Forza. I said Forza 7. I specifically said Forza 7 because that's the motorsports. I said Forza 7 sold less than the previous one. That's what I said. Pay attention. I didn't say Forza Horizon. That's the Horizon series. That's an arcade. Everybody loves arcade racing, so that's always going to do well. But the motorsports,
Okay.
so
And my man, and shout out to my brother Salim. He said, "Man, this shit look mad fake. Shit look mad spooky." What's going on, Mighty Boss?
What's up, peoples, man? I didn't want to hijack J Dub out here twerking for Yoshida. You know what I'm saying? Over these numbers, you know what I mean? But I couldn't take it no more, man.
What's up? Hey,
man?
Listen.
what's up, bro?
I'm gonna ask you a question. This back up a little bit to the early part of the show you just joining. Do you feel a little bit more vindicated now that Sony came out and released the official numbers? Because again, I remember they were throwing dog shit, and crack corn at my channel. When I said Sony sold 90 million PS4s, are probably about. And when did we do this show? About 3 months ago, maybe. So?
I want to say about a couple months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel? Like, what you talking?
It's bittersweet. I mean, I'm glad that people know that Triple B's out here working. You doing your thing, and we doing our thing behind the scenes to give y'all quality, factual content.
Yeah.
The reason why it's bitter is because, truth be told, and I'm not just trying to do this. I'm not trying to twerk out here with J Dub. I'm just telling the truth. My fellow Xbots are out here and they're traumatized, man. I'm out here looking at some of these tweets. On one hand, Phil done told y'all don't worry about numbers, but because Sony posted good numbers, y'all sitting there having conniptions. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the problem? And the fact of the matter is that to use God of War, but boy, do better. You know what I'm saying?
Boy,
you gotta get out here and compete. And look, I liken it to this real quick. If I could just say this real quick, when Microsoft first came on the scene, even though they got pummeled by the PlayStation 2, you got to look at the PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 had those highly favored, had that highly favored software like the GTAs or whatever, the Final Fantasies that just weren't on the Xbox. But what the Xbox did is it brought you experiences, right? Its footprint was something different and unique. You bring that over to the 360 era, and then they got those games that was only on the PlayStation, and they continue to bring you that unique stuff. So when you look at this generation, okay, the last match we got it handed to us, we ready to box it out, and Microsoft is still trying to wave to the fans like, hey, we won last time, hey, and they just got sucker punched this curb stomp. I mean, it is what it is. I'm mad at Sony for doing what they were supposed to do, right, to keep fighting. Get mad at your console maker of choice and tell them to do better. And my thing is that I hope Phil and them, they're looking at this and they realize that even though they're trying to make a full pivot and they're trying to change the Xbox brand, that what made Xbox from the beginning is, again, not just the controller, not the hard drive in the system, not the broadband. Those were the compliments. It was the unique experience of the games that you brought your footprint. And you got to bring that back. If you try to run the clock with Sea of Thieves and just service-based games without that umph in it, then you're going to lose, especially if PlayStation does forward compatibility. It's a wrap. So again, Mike, or whoever, Satya, it is the unique footprint and the experience of the games that's important. Bring that, and y'all can compete again. If not, you won't be able to compete. I could care less what features you had.
I've heard a lot, from the Microsoft executives, pretty much to sum them up, say they don't care for competing anymore. They're in it to try to get 2 billion gamers by any means necessary, and that's just to get into their ecosystem. Xbox is no longer just a console; it's a service, and it's going to be on in and everything. So, how do you convince the people who've been rocking out with you since day one, since the OG Xbox? How do you convince these guys to stay with you, and that they're gonna feel comfortable with staying with you when people on the other side of the aisle are eating great with VR and Game of the Year contenders and winners and chicken dinners and everything else in between? How do you do that?
Okay, so I'm not trying to be funny, you know, and I'm not trying to be mean to PlayStation fans when I say this. I personally, as an Xbox fan, I'm not a big fan of the PlayStation games. That's just me. Nothing wrong with people that are. I'm just their problem with that mind state is You don't have to do what Sony does as far as the actual content, because you didn't bring PlayStation type games last gen. You have to cater to your audience, though. I heard Z on an earlier podcast saying that, like one of his earlier shows or his clips saying that, like, you got to cater. And they didn't. They're trying to, again, the that I imagine in my mind is they're like that orangutan trying to swing from one vine, but before they fully got a grasp of the other vine, they letting go of the vine that they're already on. They don't have a full grasp of where they're at right now, and they're trying to purge us for the 200 billion or 2 billion. Look,
master of none.
That's putting out this Project Stream, and they have Google has a phone service right now. They have data plan service, because I know that was a big argument. Well, how's this going to affect data plans? Google has a data plan service right now, so they already got that on lock.
Yeah.
The exclusive content and the console thing on lock. That leaves Microsoft in the middle. So if you're not bringing that content that's unique, that you can't get anywhere else on the console space, then why would I stick with you? I can go to the portability thing. I can go to Sony if I'm looking for